Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I see we have our lineup of L1X speakers here, our fabulous utility knife inner, and also our amazing Chief Experience Officer, Cryptonaut. I'm just waiting for the other people to jump in, but first, before we get too carried away, can everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you.
That is an excellent start. And just a mic check for you, Inna.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me well?
I certainly can.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Good evening also for some people. Happy to be here.
Surely there's a few people burning the midnight oil as well. There must be some degens around the place. Classic crypto. I think we are just waiting on possibly Old Trade. But, I mean, that doesn't mean we can't kick off with a couple of introductions as well. Let's... Cryptonaut, how do you feel about jumping in, giving a bit of an overview, a bit of a touch base about the space? We can roll on through to Inner and then get an update from the guys as well about their projects, an overview, and carry on with the AMA.
For sure, yeah.
I can definitely do that. Thanks everybody for joining. My name is Cody. I am the Chief Experience Officer at Layer1X. We're excited to have you guys listening in. Plus, it looks like we've got a pretty good lineup for tonight's AMA that we're going to be doing on real-world assets. We started XTalks as a way to kind of branch out and unite a lot of the different projects that we are conversing with, and as well as giving a platform for a lot of up and coming and existing projects as well to be able to voice and shill and jump into the conversations of what we're having, primarily around Web3 interoperability and how that all plays into your projects and how that will change the future of Web3. We are a blockchain. Layer1X is a blockchain that focuses on true bridgeless interoperability. And so that we are excited to get the voice out about that and to kind of share the technology that we've developed over the past couple of years. And we're excited to see how it can work into your guys' projects.
Awesome. Thank you, Cryptonaut. It's a great overview. And Inna, any opening statements from you?
Absolutely. I just want to, as usual, say massive thank you, everyone, for joining, for cooperating, for collaborating. This is the purpose of this series, collaboration and union of all the projects. We would like to educate the community. We would like to bring some value, some serious value to the community, and share the knowledge. This is the main goal, and I'm very, very grateful to all the projects that are stepping in and help us to serve the purpose. So massive thank you, and yeah, let's go.
Awesome. Let's start. Geez, I'm having trouble getting words out. It's obviously too early for me. Let's just dive right in and get an intro from each of the projects. I see we should have everybody up on stage already. So in no particular order, give us a quick rundown, who you are, an overview of your project, and we'd love to hear about you.
Guys, don't be shy, step in. We can definitely go with DeFiOlio first, if you guys fancy so. Let's go. Don't be shy. Let's have an open chat, open conversation. Let's just get it.
All right, I guess I'll start. My project is DeFiOlio. Me and my team have been developing this for 3 years. We are a smart wallet, a gamified smart wallet. So our extensions are a little bit more vast than the typical wallet. We are live currently on alpha testing through iOS and Android. We are one of the first fee-sharing wallets that allows functions similar to blockchain chat, escrow system, ledger system, MMO, metaverse, everything from a seamless app that you can download from your Apple Store or Google Play. We currently are live. We have been for the past 3 weeks, and now we are building before we go public. That's about all.
Can hop in here and introduce myself. My name is Thor, and I am one of the co-founders of Zivoe Finance. Zivoe is a credit protocol focused on disrupting predatory high-interest consumer lending, and we do that by connecting on-chain liquidity with real-world borrowers. And when I talk about things like high interest lending, what I'm referring to are loans in the US and elsewhere that have triple digit APRs. So this looks something like someone who's borrowing, $2,500 with, and it's kind of incredible, a 200% APR. And we are looking to address that issue and provide a more affordable alternative. We have just finished kind of building out our protocol and have gone through our first audit and are on track to launch in Q2 of this year. So thank you, Layer 1, for having us all here today, and excited to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you here. And I think sorry, you jump straight in.
Thank you very much. My second time here. But yeah, this is Abrayad from the community manager from Nabla Finance. Nabla Finance is a sport AMM, and our goal is to provide solution for impermanent loss and reduce the cost of swaps using single-sided LPing and our Oracle informed asset pricing. But yeah, so our goal is to make liquidity providing costs very, very low for asset providers, and then also bring down the cost of attracting liquidity to 90% compared to other AMMs. But yeah, we expect many issuers to see the benefits and deploy their pools on Nabla. Thanks for having us here. Currently, our testnet alpha is live. Thank you so much. I'm very much interested to discuss about real world asset here with all the great projects.
Amazing. Thank you guys for the intros. And real world asset topic is so hot at the minute. And even from my personal perspective, for instance, I just can't wait to get all the information moved to the digital blockchain, digitalize it, keep it safe, keep it secure. I was just recently hacked. My bank account was accessed. So I just can't wait to get rid of my bank app and my bank card and have everything so safe. And I just can't wait to get to the point when I don't have to phone the bank and try and resolve an issue, but fully know, sleep well when my assets are safe and sound on the blockchain. So let's dive into it. And I'm pretty sure Cody has some questions regarding it. So let's go.
Cryptonaut, are you there, or are you doing that odd thing where you talk and you're on mute? I love those moments.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
Classic.
I guess we could just jump right in. So the first question is how do you guys see the use of interoperability to provide deeper liquidity for both crypto and real world assets?
Happy to take a stab at it if you'd like. So I think maybe just for people who are, listening in and are new, before we kind of talk about the interoperability aspect, maybe just defining what real world assets are for people. And so real world assets really just refer to anything, whether that be like something like traditional financial instruments, such as stocks or bonds, or physical kind of items such as, let's say, gold or agricultural products, or, even things like homes that are tokenized and represented on chain. And what that tokenization actually allows for is for you to have RWAs in essence interact with smart contracts and decentralized applications and other on-chain protocols and actually provide liquidity and fractional ownership to these items in a way that previously wasn't possible. From the interoperability standpoint, I'll maybe just touch on one part of this and then kind of can pass it off to other speakers. But I think what's really interesting just in our particular area is if you look at something like consumer lending in the US, for instance, is part of the reason why you have interest rates as high as they are in a way are because there's a finite pool of capital that is addressing these borrowers. And we feel that some of these borrowers who are being denied access to capital right now for various reasons qualify from an underwriting standpoint, but there is a lack of supply on the capital side to actually fund loans to these individuals. And so if we can connect crypto, for instance, in this particular market, we can address that issue due to the interoperability between the two systems, allowing access to on-chain capital that previously wasn't there.
Yeah, I would also like to add to that. So from our standpoint, in terms of using the interoperability to provide deep liquidity, when there is interoperability, it means different chains are communicating at the same time. Different chains can, communicate. So basically, it's a way of providing, making liquidity available from different chains. Let's say you are building a product maybe on just Ethereum. Then you are inclined to only the liquidity available on Ethereum for your product. But when your project is chain agnostic, you have the ability to take advantage of liquidities from other chains, which can as well maybe reduce the cost of the trading fees, or as well can help in reducing the impermanent losses that can be gotten due to providing liquidity.
Absolutely. I will stick my 2 penny in here as well in terms of interoperability and its usability within liquidity pools, for instance, right? So it does allow traders to trade between multiple assets within one pool, for instance, right? Which means initially less fees and lack of the need to trade between Ethereum first, for instance. So essentially, this is an absolute asset for every single chain and liquidity pool that is out there. And it will just make everyone's life so much better.
Yeah, I think that everyone has kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, whether it be with the cross-chain liquidity pools, which would add more market depth, or the idea of an efficient asset trading, which we're trying to do over at DeFiOlio, or even just breaking it down to the bare standard of just brand awareness, which will lead to just more market reach and overall easier investment stance for when it comes to the masses. So I think there's a lot of ways that people are working on it. I know we have a few that we're trying to address on our end, but I believe everyone hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah,
I'll add a little bit to that question as well. You know, when it comes to interoperability, I think I agree. Everybody has hit it right on the head. That it is about being able to tap into more users and more liquidity and things like that to help make your business grow. But I think oftentimes when we look at real world assets, I feel like we miss a lot of things that will make real world assets become a very mainstream, adoptable kind of thing. And that is not only having that cross chain ability to access tokens and liquidity, but it's also about being able to transfer data and logic, meaning that you can have a contract on Ethereum speak with a contract on Binance and vice versa. And it true interoperability, similar to what L1X has, known as XTalk. It allows us to basically bridge that gap between EVM chains and non-EVM chains, and so that's one area that we really focus on. And currently, right now, as we look to bring real world assets into the crypto space, I feel like there's definitely going to be some major things that people are going to have to address, like securities, scalability, and regulation, to basically hit the full potential of interoperability. Um, that way we can simply break down those barriers and connect more ecosystems and bring non-crypto users into the crypto space without them really even knowing it, right? And so that's just kind of my opinion on it, but I feel like those are a couple of things that oftentimes get missed as well.
all right. Well,
If anybody doesn't have anything else, let's go on to the next question. So, with cross-chain interoperability trading, how will that help businesses make more money, but more importantly, keep users interested in their projects?
Well, I see this helping in a lot of ways, especially with us. So being a wallet and anyone really within this space, you want to be able to extend your reach now, because there are so many chains. There are many different use cases for these chains. So just depending what the user is trying to do or identify, I believe that it makes everything a little bit easier. So for me personally, I play a lot of games through whether it be Immutable X or Solana. But while I might not day trade Solana or make my primary source of income from Solana, I still have other assets or chains or tokens that I am making that source of income from. So having that seamless fit of being able to make that transaction or even being able to maneuver my digital asset is always going to be key to what we're building here, which is why we believe that a wallet is so essential actually within Web3, and not the typical wallets of the the basic standard functions, but something that really is provided to break down the barrier for when it comes to mainstream. So I believe every chain, or not every chain, but majority of chains have their purpose. And once people are able to find the use case for them or actually identify what the developers and their team have built this chain or these assets for, then it makes it a little easier for all of us to navigate through this space.
I think one of the things that is really interesting from a cross-chain perspective right now is liquidity. So right now you have liquidity kind of fragmented across all of these different chains right now. And when you are able to connect them, what you are allowing is essentially an enhancement of liquidity that makes it easier for the buying and selling of different tokens. And what that's going to allow you to do is have more stable and attractive capital markets. So if you think about volatility or other things, if you have, a pool on one chain that is relatively liquid, that pool is going to see really high price fluctuations. Versus if you're able to interconnect all of the different pools that have a particular asset in it across different chains, you're able to expand essentially markets and deepen liquidity and kind of begin to stabilize some of those assets. And that really makes them more broadly appealing and enhances the potential, number of people that would want to potentially use those tokens or purchase them. And that makes it easier for businesses and protocols to operate on chain.
For sure, 100%.
When I look at this question, it often
Gets me
to think about kind of the whole connectedness and bringing everything together as well. I like the points that the first two speakers pointed out, but one thing that I do feel like we should add as well is the unity, bringing all of crypto together and not being so siloed in the different chains that we're on. And things like that. And I feel like that's one area that would definitely help businesses and projects make more money, but also keep users interested because of the collaboration, the ability to take tokens and use them in other kind of like ecosystems and things like that. And so that will be an exciting time to see for me. That'll be an exciting time. So.
the next question.
I don't know if you're a little bit far away from your speaker or your microphone, Cryptonaut. You sort of cut out a little bit muffled at time to time. Is anybody else getting that, or is that just me?
No, I can't hear him anymore.
Can you hear me now?
That's still
About
good.
really cozy. Yeah, you're a bit muffled, but I can jump in and I can go ahead and just I kind of like wonder what is your take on the transition from in traditional finance and crypto, right? To crypto and connecting any liquidity to any liquidity solutions, right? So from traditional finance to crypto, connecting to any liquidity solutions. What's your transition? What's your take on it? Is it a smooth ride? What do we need for it? Like, how do we see it? And I'm pretty sure you guys have opinions on it. So please share.
Take a stab at it. I think one of the things that is interesting right now with where we are is we're at a little bit of a crossroads. It feels like we've kind of begun developing some of these things, and I think the technology is beginning to get there. What's tricky with real world assets is not the technology side as much. Not saying that that's not super difficult, but I think what we have to think about more and more now is the regulatory compliance side of this in a way, because when you're dealing with something like real world assets, there is a real world component to this, and you need to know that whatever tokenized asset or token you have on chain is actually redeemable or actually has something backing it. And so for that to happen, we're going to need standards in place that everyone can kind of trust and go, okay, if I'm holding tokenized gold on chain, I know that this is really backed and there's reserves in place, and I can actually access that gold at the end of the day. And so things like, from a technology standpoint, oracles are going to be super important. And then on the regulatory side, we're going to need more and more jurisdictions to begin putting guidelines and rules in place on how you can actually structure something to where you have a system in place where people can be confident there's something there at the end of the day that that is really backing their token.
Brilliant. Actually, speaking of oracles, right? I think Nabla has a lot to say on it, if I'm not mistaken. But like, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, very, very much. Because, our whole, one of our major uh, design is actually the Oracle pricing, which is very important, especially in terms of ensuring there is no much, there is little to zero price difference. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to use different Oracle pricing providers to ensure that we minimize the issue of having different price on our protocol compared to like other big protocols as well, which might lead to a lot of arbitration and could cause impermanent loss for those liquidity providers.
Brilliant. DeFiOlio, would you like to finalize this
Yeah,
question?
I would have to agree. I think that is the key to it, to all of this. But at the same time, I don't believe this is going to be an easy experience for this to be established. I mean, we've seen how far crypto has come so far, but the mass adoption aspect is always going to be worrisome. From a security standpoint, I think it is the key component to a lot of what is going on when it comes to fraud, or the risk of your assets and things that are able to be presented and actually have viable proof or evidence of what's going on with your assets. So it's definitely needed um, within this time. But do I believe that it'll get to a point of that? It's just a hard it's just a hard fight. We have a lot of things that are already on the blockchain that really don't have I don't want to say value, but relative value to what that whole ideology would be. So and we don't really hold people accountable yet within this space. So I believe the first gentleman had it very correct until we figure out these regulations and where we're trying to dictate this or head in whatever direction for Web3, then we can start resolving in that topic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can hear
Much
you.
better.
Cody.
Ah,
Well done.
sweet. Thanks.
Perfect.
You got to love Apple products, right? They work sometimes and not the others. So I apologize for that. But yeah, listening to the last couple of comments, I'm going to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent here. With when it comes to real world assets and things, we'll just use like real estate for an example. It's not like you can. Uh, it would be hard to have like an NFT representing something or a token representing, ownership of your house, especially if you want to put like your title onto it. You don't want that information out there, which raises the question of how important do you guys feel that DID or digital identities are going to play in real world assets moving forward?
Well, I can actually answer that one because we actually have that built within our system. I believe it's going to be a big factor, and the only reason I say that is because of what people are used to. I mean, we build everything trying to be around convenience. That's how, at least within America, it thrives, and the places that I've traveled to, it's all convenience. So, with that being said, I mean, there's the idea of not having to deal with wallet addresses or being able to send an asset to the same type of contact system which you would do through Cash App or through your phone, or these basic components that would help garner the attention and bring Web3 into mainstream because it is just convenient. They're looking for a seamless fit, similar to a puzzle. How can we make this and bring this along without that learning curve? The learning curve always plays an issue, and you never want to have that part within your business unless you can fully explore that and educate people or educate the masses. And with this, it's not that simple. So I do believe that everyone will have a digital identifier, whether it comes down to how you're transferring your money, where it comes down to your how we depict .coms and domains and things of this nature. You will have to have those as to be within Web3.
I think something like this is going to be really important going forward. And I think in a way it's also why interoperability is so important, because I think you're going to end up in a world where you have public blockchains like Ethereum, but then you're very likely, I could see, hundreds, if not thousands, of maybe private blockchains where you have some privacy features built in for this very reason. And then you have something like Ethereum or something else as a settlement layer, and you have something like layer 1x being a layer connecting all these things together. So I think it's going to be huge. And then I also think there's a number of projects right now, such as a really good one called Nocturne, that are also working on privacy solutions even for Ethereum. So I think there's a couple of different ways this could end up going forward, and it's definitely a super important issue, but I don't think we have a definitive path forward or what's going to be the standard yet. But I do think we'll get to a point where we have a pretty good solution for this.
Yeah, well, you make a really good point that we're all trying to build the components or the foundation for within this space. So, I mean, it's similar to the internet. We didn't have all of the functionality that we did when this had started. So, 25, 26 years ago now. So, we're all just like layer one. We're trying to figure out the key components for this use case, what people can layer and build on top of to make this a better industry and a more seamless and fit industry for not just ourselves as enthusiasts, but for mainstream, as you said.
I'll jump in here. This point of the conversation is absolutely fascinating, simply because, like, let's say, okay, within the company, I sometimes go across partnerships, right? And as a protocol, we do have a tech, right? But we sometimes lack certain additional things that go around tech. And we obviously look for partnerships. So within the Web3 space, it's quite a fascinating dynamic. I personally think we have to collaborate. I personally think the exchange of knowledge is very important. It's a crucial process. Of course, nothing is free, and any effort and any knowledge shared should be rewarded by all means. I just feel like exchange of the knowledge and exchange of the protocols and skills and abilities, it's one of the most important thing for all this ecosystem to come together and become one united ecosystem. So yeah, absolutely brilliant point. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you guys, and I can't remember who said it, but security is definitely going to be a huge factor in this. What are some of the steps that you are taking within your own project and protocol to help add security as you bring more users on, as you develop more opportunities to tokenize real world assets, and so on and so forth? So, yeah, what are you basically doing to increase your security to build that trust within your own community?
Well, as a wallet, we have to take a unique stance on it. We're not just a wallet that is for one essential wallet. You're able to import all of your wallets and manage and handle all of your assets from one location. So we've had to really deep dive and spend a lot of our time on security. That's why this has been a 3 year project. So we do realize that the best case is always for the user and what they're educated on and their best practices. But you can take it a step further, especially as technology seems to keep advancing, particularly with AI. So one of the things that we've been looking into and been able to build out is counteracting. So while a lot of things that, whether it be sending NFTs to your wallet that will drain your wallet, we don't seem to have a function that just burns them. We don't seem to have a function that just one click sends them away, or a checker for when you're making these transactions that are looking for or looking into a contract. Even if it isn't a manual person, you can do AI auditing. So there are these standard type of ways that I believe will be in future practice when it comes to allowing you to make purchases. Whether you decide to push that transaction, there will be technology in ways that will warn you. So the idea of some of these typical scams that we're seeing, we've been able to find mitigation for those, but you're never really going to be able to start it. Just like we were saying, the further technology advances, they get that same technology. So it's really staying up to the learning curve and actually wanting to develop something that is best for the user. So with us, it's definitely personal. We do not want to even be in a position where we could be liable for someone's funds. So we have the random pin number, so it's always revolving, and we've taken all the steps of everyone else. Yes, you can change them in your settings, and turn off these preferences, of course. But going forward, if this does go the way we believe Web3 will go, you're going to have to start building and start thinking about security first, because there are going to be ways where your project or your software can be exploited. There's always vulnerabilities in whatever we're building, and it's our job to manage those and deal with them appropriately.
So I think one of the things with security to start off with is, one, it is super, super important. I do want to maybe caveat something though, which is I think security is super important in this space, but I also think one of the things is I'm not so sure that we have security issues in this space any worse than in Web 2. It's a frequent kind of thing you'll maybe hear people who are a little skeptical of our space say. I just think the difference is because of how transparent Web 3 is anytime there's an exploit or a hack, we all hear about it, versus in Web 2. A lot of these times, unless companies have certain information leak that identifies something came from them, they don't necessarily disclose that they were hacked or their systems were breached. With that being said, as a project, we take this area in particular really, really seriously, because just one mistake can be the end of a project. And so with that in mind, we have gone out and done our first audit with Runtime Verification, who's one of the leading auditing firms in the space. And that was a 10-week long audit. And for people who are familiar with audits or have been around the space for a little bit, that's a pretty long audit for a protocol. We're also going to be doing a second audit in advance of launching and doing bug bounties and other security programs as well on an ongoing basis. And so this is an area that we do take seriously and everyone needs to. So I'll leave it at that.
I totally agree with you on the security needs to be of the highest importance, because it definitely can kill a protocol. I think if you've been in crypto probably over at least 6 months, you've at least seen one happen in your lifetime of being a crypto person. But it's sad when it happens, and I mean, I could go down a whole nother rabbit hole on that kind of topic, but we'll rope this in and talk more about interoperability and real world assets for sure. So what industries, we've already seen some like the NFT art NFTs taken off. We've started seeing a little bit of real estate, but in 2024 or 2025, what do you see as the next big real world assets coming into play from just a general broad spectrum?
Um, I'm not sure that it would in 2 years. I'm not sure that it'll change too much. I think it's used similar as art has art has been used for years. Just a way to move money for now until they can or all of us can continue to build out the foundation, or it's accepted in a mass amount of areas. But until they can get a hold on actually what's being put on the blockchain, it's going to be a little bit harder. Um, so I mean, I guess it really just depends, but um, I mean that's kind of where I see it as of now. It's just moving money around until it hits regulations and we actually have some backing behind what we're doing. Until then, it's certainly a risk, especially as the gentleman mentioned before. Even with Web 2, it comes down to the educational piece. So within this space, it's a little bit of a learning curve. So until people truly understand what this is, I don't see how it can go much further, besides being the digital assets that we have now.
Yeah. So just to add to that, I would say definitely it's more of like seeing people taking advantage more of the already existing assets, like maybe using stable coins to as a way of payment using cards, or because one thing is we with all these things we need to like create real value for these real world assets. So uh, apart from making payments, I think we would start seeing a lot of forex that's happening on chain, and it's a way to ease movement of money from uh, one country to another country, and then a lot more on chain real utilities and real yields that are going to be earned for these real world assets. So the goal is to like have a sustainable DeFi products whereby whether we are in a bull run or we are in a bear market, there is going to be a lot of people taking advantage of it, not just taking advantage of the narratives and having pumps and dumps, and then everything goes silent when we move on to the next bear market, because cycles do happen. We are going to have bull runs and bear market. So the goal is to make sure we are using this product not just during the bull run, but even during bear market.
I'm pretty optimistic actually about where we'll be in a couple of years. If you look at something like the internet, you could argue the internet itself was really invented in 1969. That's when two guys got on from different universities and sent themselves a message. And then after that, you had, DNS come out in the early 1980s. And a lot of people would argue that's really the official start of the internet. We're 40 years on from then. You really could argue that you did not see mass adoption of the internet until about 2005, when you had, social media networks begin to come along and we got into Web 2. When you look at something like a time horizon like that, it looks like it happened kind of all just at once in the last 15 or 20 years. But really, this has been something that is almost, 50 years in the making. And I think we're in a similar place with crypto. You've had a whole bunch of developments that have been happening in the RWA space over, the last even 10 years. People have tried to tokenize assets, since we essentially launched Bitcoin pretty shortly after. And in the background, we've had all this incremental progress. So you can look at all the projects that have begun tokenizing US treasuries. And that not only provides, different DAOs or projects on chain with a source of yield, but what they've done that's really, really important is they've kind of blazed a path, because now every other project can go look at what these guys have done from a technology standpoint and from a regular standpoint and from a structuring standpoint, and use that as a guide in order to figure out how to begin doing other tokenized assets. And you're seeing more and more jurisdictions become friendly to this as well. Like Coinbase just recently launched Project Diamond in the UAE. And you have places like the UK that are beginning to put more and more regulatory guidelines about this. And so, I'm biased in that, we're a project focused on consumer lending. So I'd like to think that's going to become, a really big thing as we continue to progress and build out our protocol. But I think there's room here in the next couple of years for multiple projects or multiple different asset classes to become getting really successful and really big as we see the technology and the regulatory guidelines continue to get put in place.
So I would have a question for you then. Wouldn't you say that the next piece that's needed for us to keep going would be the on, or the next focus should be the on ramp and the off ramp? Because that's really the main hindrance, is we don't have that. We don't have an easy solution. We're still, I don't want to say spread thin, but because of we're all over with all of these chains and all of these different assets, it's making it a little bit harder for anyone to get backing when it comes to what this is in whole. So I'd just like to hear what you think of that.
I think there's definitely a component there where it makes it tricky, right? You need a lot of these different pieces to line up with each other. But I do think we've hit a point where we have, terminal velocity, or we have enough built out that it's going to be sustainable. The market cap of DeFi alone, not including every other single crypto asset, is billions of dollars now. You have countries that have launched CBDC, small countries, but they have begun to do it. And you have places like Abu Dhabi and Singapore even who are beginning to court projects to come there, and they put regulatory guidelines in place for this. So do I think it's going to continue to be a challenge? For sure. Do I think on and off ramps will continue to pose a hindrance? Yes. But I do think we are going to continue to march forward, and you're going to see places continue to begin working with companies like Coinbase to put in place the frameworks that are necessary to begin doing some of these things.
No, I definitely agree. I definitely think we're all building the foundational pieces to what this is. Um, I'm just more so worried on the time, I guess. I know kind of what we're doing on our end. I'm gonna look into you after this ends, but it's our biggest issue, and that we're finding is the onboard and off ramp, and it's just and it's just like you said, though. I mean, we're going to these smaller areas and we're able to conquer them, because it's easier to push regulations within these spaces, but for the masses, it is still an issue. So yeah, I definitely agree with you.
So maybe just one more thing to add to that. Can everyone hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Maybe one more thing to add to that. I'm a little bit of a history nerd, and hence I can, kind of go ahead and reference the fact that the internet kind of began in the 60s. So I think there's a good quote from this, which is at the end of the day, really the problem I think you're referencing is the ability to on and off ramp in the US right now. And the US has continued to be fairly stubborn, but I think one of the most killer use cases that we've all seen right now, especially if you're outside of the West, is tokenized US dollars. And I think the US government's eventually going to come around to realizing that that is an ally to them and not an enemy. And where I'm going with this is one of the things that, we're never really good at as a country sometimes is getting to the right answer immediately. And it's summed up pretty well by, actually, of all people, Winston Churchill, who said, the Americans try everything before they end up doing the right thing. And I think that's going to be the same thing here. And so as soon as that happens, or we begin getting some of that in place, I think it's a whole different game.
No, totally agree with you guys on that. Regulation is definitely going to be a huge factor across the board in pretty much real world assets, lending, even the on and off ramp thing. But I believe that if there's a bunch of us crypto people that have a drive to make it happen, it will eventually happen, and we'll figure out a way to do it. A lot of times that does require us kind of being mindful to the regulation aspect of it, but also kind of finding ways to skirt it and discover it, a loophole, I guess you could say. But if we're motivated enough, I think that we'll find a way to do it. But I'm of the opinion that if we can build it right and build a solid foundation and present that as a viable option for governments and regulators to kind of look at and adopt, or make some variations to it, I think it's to that point where we need to start doing that, especially here in the United States, to get caught up with with everything. But that again is a whole different AMA that we'll talk about that. But hopefully our friend Gary will definitely jump on board with us one of these days. So just in the interest of time, we'll kind of kick it off with one last question. But if before we do, Joe, is there any questions from the community?
Let me just have a quick squizzy through here in these comments.
While he's looking, if you have any questions for our awesome panelists today about real world assets, interoperability, that kind of stuff, feel free to drop that in the comment, and we'll make sure that we get your question up. But in the meantime, did you find anything? If not, I'll move on to kind of the last couple of questions.
No, keep moving through. If anything spins up, I'll jump in.
Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have been wanted to like chip in for the regulatory and talks. So in terms of Nabla, what we are trying to do is we're trying to add an AML compliant LP token standards, whereby we ensure that this tokens are compliant with the anti-money laundering. And then apart from that, we are also trying to work with this infrastructure. So our goal is to improve their technology on our chain, on our protocol, which is as well going to like add up a firewall on the protocol, so we can be able to take actions in cases where there is any illegal activity that is happening on our protocol. Using the turtle shell technology, we can be able to maybe block those transactions. And then in terms of like stuff like blacklisting as well, with a lot of other MMs, let's say maybe you want to there is an illegal activity that is happening with one of the LPs, and they're using tokens like maybe USDC or other tokens. So with most AMMs, if you are going to maybe blacklist that token that the activity is happening on, you will have to blacklist the whole token on that AMM instead of just for that particular LP. So what we are trying to do is to build a future where you can actually blacklist just a single LP, and this can help significantly to avoid affecting other liquidity providers that are innocent and have no relation to that particular LP that is doing any illegal activity on chain. But yeah, those are like some of the things that we are trying to do in terms of regulations and security. And we are actually very open to seeing a lot of other futures and trying to see ways we can implement them, because at the end of the day, the goal is to build a product that is efficient as possible.
No, I love that. I love that. That's some great insight. You know, one of the things that we're trying to do over at Layer 1X is from a blockchain technology standpoint is every project that is, building has some sort of responsibility for security, for, protection of its ecosystem for the users, the investors that are inside of it as well. But likewise, I think that from a blockchain technology standpoint, we need to do our part as well. And so one of the things that we're doing is building in a lot of almost guardrails, if you want to look at it that way, that will help deter these bad actors that are out to scam, out to do anti-money laundering things, things like that. And so I think I think there's a lot of projects that are all focused on creating a positive user experience, but also an experience that is safe and secure for their people as well. But it is definitely all about raising the standards, especially when it comes to real world assets and protecting not only the asset itself, but the information behind the owner of that asset as well. So, Joe, do we have any questions? If not, I'll go on to the last one.
Nothing further so far.
Okay, perfect. So the last question, real quick, is basically I'm a huge believer, and I think that a few of you guys have touched upon it. Is that we're building the foundation. We may not have all the answers right now, and it might take us a few more years to get there. But I am of the belief that through the extension of my voice and your voice of this AMA and continued AMAs of trying to build awareness, that somebody out there will be listening and is new. If it's a kid, if it's a teenager, if it's somebody that's of the next generation type of thing, will build upon our foundation and hopefully get us there. But for those that are listening, what advice, if they're looking to get into a real world asset project, or if they're looking to build their own protocol around real world assets, what is one single point of advice that you would give them?
Have good attorneys. That'd be my first piece of advice to anyone who wants to do anything with RWAs, because there is so much kind of back and forth between on-chain finance, traditional finance, and structuring that definitely requires good counsel. So that's always huge. But just in terms of anyone looking to get into this space, I would just say jump in and begin getting involved. The great thing about crypto being as open as it is there's a million different ways for you to contribute, whether that be contributing to a project as a developer or becoming part of a community. And so find something that really speaks to you and your interest. If you're more technical, go that route. If you're, more on the marketing side, there's opportunities for you as well. So figure out what you like, and then I'm sure there's a path for you in Web3 and in the RW asset space to begin to get involved.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and then I take it a little step further and say education. I mean, one of the things that I see, one of the biggest issues with a lot of new people joining this space is they're not really familiar, or the FOMO culture. They truly believe something is what it's not because they rather either they don't have experience when it comes to just the internet and people's capabilities of what you can really do with a certain skill set. So just education and learning what's really here and what's on the internet and what is possible, what people are doing. So just definitely reading, learning, definitely build a team, as he said. Definitely legal, have to have legal. Um, and just take the proper steps. There's no shortcuts in a space like this. So if this is something that you want to do, you put all of your, not necessarily all of your energy, but you have to put the time in. So um, pretty sure that that's one of the top two things that you can do. I'm sure the next gentleman has something else he can add.
Oh yeah, I think those are the two great points. Education, compliance, and then one more thing will be uh using some good Oracle pricing providers. Because you are bringing off-chain information to uh to the blockchain. So definitely that would also be a good thing to consider.
Great points. Thanks everybody for sharing. So, before we close this out, do you guys want to take 30 seconds and just give everybody your elevator pitch, how they can find you, maybe an exciting event or anything like that going on with your project? Go ahead. You got 30 seconds to shill.
Well, I'll
Well,
always take a chilling opportunity. So for those who are joining or joining late, my name is Thor, and we are Zivoe. We are a credit protocol focused on disrupting predatory high interest consumer lending. We're going to be launching in Q2 of this year. So definitely give us a follow at Zivoe Finance to stay up to date for more announcements on our launch, and be sure to join our Discord and give us a follow.
and if you are looking for a new wallet that actually gives you some type of fee sharing back across an all chain swap, we are live. You can come in and check us out in the DeFiOlio Discord. Plenty of opportunities for a passive income as well as marketing. And if you are an owner of a project or a chain, layer one, we can implement, and we are trying to do that now as we complete our foundation. Thanks.
Once again, Nabla is an sport AMM that is working towards reducing impermanent loss through single-sided LPing and also optimized Oracle pricing. But yeah, we are currently in our testnet phase. Actually, the third week of the testnet is launching today. So yeah, you can definitely hit my bio and follow the Nabla account, and then I can also get you whitelist to check out our testnets. And just a little bit of an alpha, we will be having a campaign with Python Network, which is actually going to be very big for us. That's for the fourth week of the alpha. And then our mainnet is planned in the first half of this year. But yeah, it's actually great to see people testing the product and getting feedbacks. So I would love everyone on the space to you know hear feedback from you.
100%. And good luck to everybody's projects. Sounds like there's going to be some good things coming out of your guys' protocols here soon. And so, yeah, definitely going to be keeping an eye on you guys. We want to give our panelists a big thank you for coming on to our AMA. Looks like Anna's got a quick question. Go for it.
It's not a question, it's more of a gentle reminder to if you or someone you know are keen to join these conversations, please follow our website xtalksama.com, submit the form. It's free, it's fully supported by us, by Layer 1X, and we are here to unite and not have any transactional form of relationships apart from friendships. So this would be amazing. We are planning on a few different conversations within Web3 space on wallets, on cross-chain swaps, on excuse me, also on social apps and launch pads, exchanges as well. So anything that rings a bell, please step in. We will be happy to have you on board for these open discussions. That will be great. And also another small tiny note from me for projects participants. Please hit me up if you would like me to connect you with other participants, with other speakers. I'm more than happy to do that. If you have some points of contact that you would like to discuss further between each other, I'm happy to connect you and help you with that. So thank you very much, guys, for being here. This is a massive pleasure to have you on board, and I'm very excited for more to come. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you very much for this late night spaces.
well,
Currently 3 a.m. for me, but yeah, excited.
Oh, you're a rock star. We appreciate you guys showing up, even if it's late or early morning for you. But yeah, thank you again, and please mark your calendars for this coming Monday at 8 p.m. Australian time or 12 p.m. UTC for episode 21 of XTalks, and we'll catch you guys on that one. And have a good evening, day, or morning.
I knew there'd be a
Thank you.
DGen in the crowd. I knew there had to be somebody that was awake at 3 a.m. I just knew. I knew there had to be one. Anyway, that's enough for me. Awesome. Let's wrap up. Thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody being on here to hear out the projects and hear the direction of interoperability and how that fits in with everything. We'll see you real soon. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.